Good evening and welcome to Ville News. I'm your host, Owen Russell, alongside Valentina Zamora, here to give you the latest local, state, and national headlines. Coming up in this episode, we have updates on mail-in ballot errors, Senator Fetterman returning to the office, and recent mass shootings in Kentucky and Alabama. Stay tuned, because Ville News starts now.
On Monday, April 17th, the Lancaster County's election office stated that over 18,000 mail-in ballots that were sent to voters in the beginning of last week contained an error. This discovery required the ballots to be voided and replacements sent out immediately. The error affects both the Republican and the Democratic voters and involves the instructions for the race for the Superior Court of Pennsylvania. The voters were supposed to select two candidates in the race. However, the ballot that was sent out incorrectly said that they was only allowed to pick one. Mainly mail-in voters received notices from the Department of State on Monday informing them that the ballot was received and canceled. The message they received stated, quote, "Your ballot has been received by Lancaster County on April 17th, 2023. Your ballot status has been updated to canceled because a replacement ballot has been issued," end quote. These mail-in ballots must be returned to the elections office by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, May 16th.
On an early Tuesday morning at the 1300 block of Manor Street, two homes were damaged by a fire. Responding to a call on April 18th, multiple units rushed to Manor Street around 12:45 a.m. to control the flames. What started in one home on the first and second levels unfortunately traveled to the adjoining ones, as they were both damaged by the fire. No injuries were reported by the Columbia Borough Fire Chief Scott Rhino, and the flames were able to be contained. The cause has to be determined and is under investigation, and our thoughts go out to the residents' homes.
When we get back, news on Senator Fetterman returning to D.C. and new classifications for drugs in PA. Ville News will be right back.
United States Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania went back to work in the U.S. Senate on Monday at 2:30 p.m. His car drove up to the Capitol and he stepped out in his usual hoodie, workout shorts, and sneakers. All he shared was, quote, "It's great to be back," end quote, before heading to work. After checking himself into Walter Reed Medical Center in February to receive treatment for depression, Fetterman has been gone from the Capitol for 2 months. The 53-year-old senator's physicians have officially declared that his depression is in remission. His staff also confirmed that Fetterman has been fitted with hearing aids to deal with an auditory processing impairment he has had since having a stroke last year. He has also employed closed captioning technology.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro announced that Pennsylvania will join 3 other states in classifying Xalazine as the Schedule III drug. Xalazine is a sedative typically used in veterinary practices that has been spreading into fentanyl supplies across the state and country. Acknowledging this is a Schedule III drug allows the Commonwealth to require more secure recording keeping and ensures that the drug is stored in a secure, locked location. Manufacturers must also use extra checks to make sure the individual ordering the drug is the one receiving it. Shapiro held a press conference in Kensington, PA, the center of the opioid crisis in the Commonwealth, and stated, quote, "This drug is a serious event, even more so because a lot of the times when people take it, they don't even realize it's mixed in with the fentanyl that they're purchasing," end quote. Xalazine will move on to this classification in May, and Shapiro shared that in his administration, they will work diligently to reclassify drugs that present a hazard to the Commonwealth.
When we get back, updates on deadly mass shootings in Alabama and Kentucky. Ville News will be right back.
There have been 163 mass shootings in the United States this year as of April 16th. 2 shootings occurred on April 16th in Danville, Alabama, and Louisville, Kentucky. A gunman opened fire during a teen's Sweet 16 party in Dadeville, killing at least 4 people and injuring over 20. The shooting took place around 10:30 p.m. at a dance studio. Authorities have not yet released information on the shooter or their motive. On the same night of Dadeville's shooting, 2 were killed and 4 were injured at the Chickasaw Park in Louisville, Kentucky. Hundreds of people were gathered around the park at 9 p.m. when a gunman shot into the crowd. A suspect has not been identified yet, Both of these shootings come less than a week after a gunman killed 5 and injured 8 inside a Louisville bank.
This week started bad and only kept getting worse for Associate Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, as the stoic senior-most member of the court may potentially face a congressional hearing over allegations of financial misconduct. Justice Thomas has been accused of failing to disclose a number of luxury vacations taken by him and Republican megadonor Harlan Crow, with a 9-day island hopping tour of Indonesia being the most recent alleged incident. Both Crow and Thomas defended themselves in separate statements released to the public, with the embattled jurist stating he was advised against reporting these trips and that he, quote, endeavored to follow that counsel throughout my tenure and has always sought to comply with the disclosure guidelines, end quote. Numerous public figures have asked for an official look into the behavior, with Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut stating his desire for Thomas to voluntarily answer any questions the Senate Judiciary Committee may ask.
16-year-old African-American teen Ralph Yarl was shot twice by a white homeowner in Kansas City after accidentally trespassing on his property. Around 10 p.m. on April 13th, Yarl had been on his way to pick up his 2 younger siblings and rang the doorbell of the wrong address, where he was shot in the head through the glass door by 84-year-old Andrew Lester. Lester told police that he had seen a black male at his door and that he had believed his home was being broken into, being, quote, scared to death of the boy's size, end quote. Lester turned himself into police custody this past Tuesday and has been charged with the assault of the first degree and armed criminal action. Clay County prosecuting attorney Zachary Thompson states that, quote, there was a racial component to this case, end quote, but didn't elaborate any further. Lester does not face any hate crime charges, according to Thompson, due to hate crimes being a lesser felony, and that doing such could constitute double jeopardy. Yarl has been released from the hospital and has had a positive prognosis, expected to make a full recovery.
That's all we have for this week in Phil News. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in next week for the latest local, state, and national headlines.